Hey, what is up? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be doing an in-depth guide on XP in Frozen Flame, as well as give my own personal strategies and how to get a lot of it. Every level you gain, your character will receive one Frozen Flame, in which you can go to an altar in order to learn some new skills. In order to get some of the better skills and make your character as powerful as possible, you're going to need a lot of XP. This is manageable in the early stages of the game because you have rituals and quests that grant a lot of XP. The problem is that these are a one-time method. What happens when you deplete these options, but still want to level further? As enemies respawn, unlike the two other options, let's take a look at how much XP they give you. I'm going to be showing a lot of numbers for the rest of this video, and keep in mind that I did this over a short period of time, so I might get one or two wrong. In order to find the amount of XP we get from one enemy, we're simply going to do subtraction using the number 32. The enemy that we'll be focusing on is a Tier 2 Mage, Tier 2 being the second biome. So by subtracting 32 with the new number 84, we understand that it's 52 additional XP we got from that enemy. Now you notice that the number is not 52 for this mage, instead the number is 98. The reason for this is because we had finished a camp, which gave us an extra 46. As I mentioned before, I split enemies into tiers, Tier 1 being the first biome and Tier 2 being the second. We can see that by killing the same enemy, but in different biomes, will grant a different amount of XP. By using past footage and current footage, I made sure that XP does not scale with level, so you should be getting the same amount of XP that I am in this video. I also took the time to make a list so that I can know what gives a lot of XP in this game and what gives very little. This does not cover everything in the game, but things like the Flesh Cutter boss, for instance, will show you how much XP the other Tier 2 bosses will give. I also learned that activities like cooking, harvesting, and building really give little to no XP at all. As for the list, I did leave out one very important enemy. This enemy gives by far the most XP at a whopping 2500. That's equivalent to about 5 ice elemental bosses or 1250 trees. I'll come back to this guy later in the video, but let's start talking about the XP grind. We'll be focusing on the ice elemental, who's the first boss you face in order to get a portal core. This will be one of the two strategies I show in this video. In the world of Frozen Flame, enemies naturally respawn, but there is a way to actually speed up this process. As you can see, I'm using a melee weapon, but that's because I'm far enough in the game where he really can't do damage to me. If you have trouble with him, just stick to ranged weapons and it should be easy. So here's where we get into the strategy. You're granted 524 XP, but the battle is over. Now you have to wait for it to naturally respawn. Problem is, you don't have time to do that. So how do you solve this issue? What if I told you there is a method to respawn it right away? It's actually quite simple, just leave and rejoin the game. Be warned, some might see this as a glitch or an exploit. I simply don't see it that way because you still have to face the enemy. If you rejoin close to the ice elemental, he also won't have time to summon his minions. As you can see, the strategy is pretty simple. You just leave, rejoin, and repeat as many times as you want. The ice elemental is not the only enemy in the game that this works for though. Almost every enemy besides the summonable bosses can be respawned just by leaving and rejoining the game. Now the first strategy was for those that were a little bit of a lower level, but now let's get into the real strategy. If you're at this point of the game, you've probably done most of the rituals, completed most of the quests, and killed most of the bosses. This strategy is really for those that want to get to as high of a level as possible. Just like the ice elemental, the Titan respawns by leaving and rejoining the game, but in order to save as much time as possible, there are specific steps that we have to take in this boss battle. In the first two attempts of killing the Titan, I simply used my bow the entire time. But as I'd come to know later, this is by far the least efficient method in doing this. On the outer edges of this boss battle, there are these stones that you can activate. These stones will do a significant amount of damage to the Titan, as well as stun it for a brief period. The enemies guarding these stones are relatively easy to avoid. You can just ignore them, activate the stone, and move on. Once you do all the stones, it will also break the crystals so you don't have a beam shooting at you, and you just finish off the Titan who has very low HP. Now this step's important. Once you finish the boss battle, come over to this stone. Once again, we're going to have the Titan respawn by leaving and rejoining the game. Once we rejoin the game, the boss battle will once again begin. Now I do activate the stone here, but I'd wait till the Titan breaks out of the scaffolding, otherwise he'll regenerate about 100 HP. Now the process is easy. You just keep running across the wall and activating every stone you can find. If you want to shorten the amount of damage you have to do towards the end, you can get some extra shots in when he's stunned. You can also use the flying skill in order to get to higher locations. The problem is you will be shot down with electricity, but you can still manage to get there. I also noticed that the stone can sometimes cause critical damage. I attempted to increase the rate of this occurrence by changing skills, but I'm unsure if it worked or not. But honestly, that's pretty much all to the strategy. You just leave and rejoin the heaven respawn, use the stones to do heavy damage, and finish them off using your weapon of choice. If you enjoyed, then please hit the like button, sub if you haven't already subbed, and turn notification bell on if you want to see more. Anyway, that's all, and I'll see you next time. Peace.